So my name is Nathan Carroll. I'm one of the co-founders of QuickPay. I spent the first 10 years of my career traveling the world and surfing professionally. When I was about 25, decided to go to university, set myself up for long-term success. Spent the last 5 years working in various financial services roles, and then moved to Australia where I worked at Prosper as well as at Violent Finance. So I got really immersed in the fintech space and working with small businesses and small business lending, and absolutely fell in love with it. I guess since I was a little kid, I've always had little side hustles and side jobs. It's been something that's always been important to me, and I've always loved building things from scratch and coming up with new ideas and seeing if I could make it work. And so for me, one of the things I learned from surfing is just how to be able to adapt and build things really quickly, and create strategies and then be able to execute it. Because surfing professionally in competitions, you have about 20 minutes. And so, you don't have a lot of time and you have to get it right. So that's probably learned some of the most invaluable skills that I was able to apply into starting ideas. So one of the first things I did was actually launch a surf school with like online videos and stuff. So parents could actually like watch their kids surfing. And at the time, no one was doing this anywhere. I don't even know if it still exists, but we did it and it was really cool and it was really fun. Had no idea about technology, so recruited a bunch of friends. But ultimately, it's allows you to really, it's just that the desire to like do something new and creative and fun and follow a passion and do something you generally care about is probably the single most important thing. And then the other skills that you learn from things outside of work as well as university, which helps you pull everything together into a cohesive value proposition. That's kind of where the things that pass the line. But yeah, it's been an awesome journey. And I think, you pick up things from everything you do in life. And I think life's an entire journey, and that's how startups are. It's a journey from start to finish. So the early days is figuring out what you're actually supposed to figure out. And then you jump into figuring out the problem after that. And all those life experiences come into play. You don't even realize it until you're halfway through and be like, aha, I didn't have been here before. Don't do that. Should do this. And then you really roll with it from there. I think the best career advice I've ever received is do what you love and don't follow the money. That's probably been the single biggest thing. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to stomach, specifically if you're like in a high paid sales role, because you follow the money and you get big paychecks and you're really excited and you're like, cool, what am I going to buy this month? Whereas, you might not necessarily enjoy it. Whereas if you do something you enjoy and you're good at it, the money will follow. That's probably the single biggest advice I got. And it's really stuck with me. I'm still learning, and I don't think I've reached the top of what I want to learn. I'm constantly pushing myself to learn new things by reading books or blogs or other resources to help me upskill. So I guess the big things for me probably at the start of it is probably learning a little bit more about putting in place like a personal operating cadence and rhythm. I think that's probably the single biggest thing, because you find yourself being busy very easily. And that's probably the biggest thing is you're wasting time on 80% of the things that like, do you really have to do those? Do they really matter? And you think they do, but then the further along you get in your career, you realize like, no, yes, I'm going to do this. No. So you get really good at saying no, but to start, you say yes to everything. So it's about prioritizing and being able to put a plan in place and stick to it. And that's probably the single biggest thing I wish I had at the beginning, was knowing how to put that plan in place, but then being able to know what it is that I should put in place for specific roles. I think the biggest mistake I've made is jumping into things a little bit too quickly, where I need to probably be a little bit more patient in terms of making critical business decisions. And on the flip side of that, sometimes I've waited too long and I should have jumped in sooner. So if I was to think, I think probably one thing in one of the roles I was in, I should have made hiring a priority a lot sooner than I did. And I should have been super adamant and pushed on it. And I didn't. I kind of waited about 6 months. And that was my biggest regret, because it takes so long to find the right people and then being able to train people, where if you would have done that from day one and focused on the importance of spending, don't worry about the money, but you hire the right people who do the right things, then you don't have to stand on top of them every day trying to tell them what to do. They need to buy into the vision and then execute to that vision. And it takes a while to find those types of people that think like that. And then also have that skill set where you don't have to spend all day training them on what you need them to do as well. You need them to pick it up quickly. And those are hard to find. But that is probably the biggest. That's probably the biggest mistake I did, is not put more value on that and put more of an emphasis on it. I think the key to success so far has been my ability to really, pivot very quickly based on data. And that's really what I learned from surfing, is you can have a really great game plan, and you can have an awesome strategy in place. But the reality is like, things change on the fly, especially in startup land. Like, what works one month doesn't work the next month, and not being so set on, we have to do it this way. Instead, go and say, well, that doesn't work. Now we know that doesn't work. Let's do something entirely different. Customers are saying this, let's try it. And that's kind of how you have to be, is really nimble. Like, we still are executing to our long-term vision and a long-term plan, but the short little steps that you take to get there is you have to be super loose and nimble and be able to interchange those. And that's probably been the single biggest, the reason we've got to where we are is because I learned a lot of those skills through surfing that I've been able to apply in the professional setting as well.